One of the most important lessons we've learned in the past 2 years with the pandemic is the fact that health is not an individual sport. While of course individuals have different health standards and some are healthier than others, truth is, as a society we can be healthy only if everyone around us is healthy. This may not hold true of lifestyle diseases, but it's true of all communicable diseases. We are only as healthy as our most vulnerable people. If we are to build India into a truly prosperous nation, we need for all of our citizens to be healthy. We can leave no one behind. So welcome to our call to action this season, Leave No One Behind. And to talk about how we can do this, we have an amazing lineup of guests, but we have with us Rahul Bose, who is our anchor, but he's, as everyone knows, an actor and director, and he's going to help me take this discussion through. So could you talk us a little bit through that? You know, what are some of the suggestions and what does it really mean, you know, to leave no one behind?
Well, I think it's something that we've been talking about for decades, that, you know, everybody should move together, all of us are united, all of that. But the pandemic has really shown us that unless every single person is protected, nobody is protected. And if that's the case, then you simply have to stop invisibilizing so much of society that you normally do. And so in this case, I think the profound effect it has had on other parts of our lives, whether it's sport, whether it's literacy, whether it's environment, whatever it could be, if we can learn this lesson, that you have to believe in equity over equality, equity and take everybody along so that everybody can move together, civilizationally, we won't take a step forward if we don't do that.
इस मुहिम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए अब मैं स्वागत करना चाहता हूं छत्तीसगढ़ के मुख्यमंत्री भूपेश बघेल जी का। बहुत सारे ऐसे इलाके, तबके और लोग हैं जहां तक स्वास्थ्य सुविधाएं उस तरीके से नहीं पहुंच पाई हैं कई कारणों की वजह से, और इनमें से एक है जो ट्राइबल इलाका है छत्तीसगढ़ का। इस पर क्या विशेष ध्यान दिया है आपकी सरकार ने?
देखिए, छत्तीसगढ़ में खासकर जो ट्राइबल इलाका है और सबका ध्यान बस्तर में जाता है, तो वहां हम लोगों ने गांधी जी के 150वीं वर्षगांठ के अवसर पर स्वास्थ्य सबको मिले, इसके लिए जितने भी हमारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट हॉस्पिटल है, पीएससी है, सीएससी है, उसमें डॉक्टर और स्टाफ की भर्ती की। उसके अलावा भी हमने देखा कि हमारे ग्रामीण जन है वो हॉस्पिटल अब छोटी मोटी बीमारियों के लिए नहीं जाते, बहुत बढ़ जाने के बाद ही हॉस्पिटल जाते हैं। लेकिन हमारी परंपरा रही है कि हाट बाजार जरूर जाते हैं, जो साप्ताहिक जो बाजार है उसमें लोग जरूर जाते हैं, और इस कारण से हमने हाट बाजार क्लिनिक योजना शुरू की, जिसका लाभ जबरदस्त मिला है, लाखों लोग उससे लाभान्वित हुए हैं। बस्तर में एक समय ऐसा था कि लोग तुलना ये करते थे कि वहां के नागरिक और जवान मलेरिया से ज्यादा मरे हैं कि नक्सली की गोली से। तो एक आंकड़ा था कि जवानों की भी मृत्यु मलेरिया से ज्यादा होने लगी थी, और इसलिए मलेरिया मुक्त बस्तर और मलेरिया मुक्त छत्तीसगढ़ का अभियान हमने शुरू किया। उसका फायदा ये हुआ कि बस्तर में पहले 40% मलेरिया से ग्रसित लोग थे, अब वो घट के केवल 4 से 5% हो गया है। एक अभियान हम लोगों ने चलाया, घर घर में जाके उसे जांच की 14 लाख परिवारों के, और उसका लाभ ये मिला और उसके दवाइयां दी, अब वो 4-5% है। तो बहुत जल्दी हम लोग बस्तर को मलेरिया मुक्त कर पाएंगे। उसी प्रकार से छत्तीसगढ़ में भी हम लोग करने जा रहे हैं। शहरी क्षेत्र में भी हम लोग मोबाइल मेडिकल यूनिट संचालित किए हैं, खासकर श्रमिक बस्तियों में, और महिलाओं के लिए एक विशेष योजना दई दीदी क्लिनिक, जिसमें केवल महिलाएं ही स्टाफ होती हैं, डॉक्टर से लेके सारी स्टाफ महिलाएं होती है, और महिलाओं के बीच में जाकर उसकी जांच करते हैं, और वो भी काफी लोकप्रिय हुआ है। तो ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में भी हो चाहे शहरी क्षेत्र में हो, हेल्थ के क्षेत्र में हम लोग काफी काम किए हैं।
Quick question to Poonam Mutreja. Thank you very, very much. It's an honor to have you with us. Women's turnout in elections used to be 25% less than men. Now it's higher than men. More women are coming out to vote than men are. So they are fighting for themselves as well. But how do you see this going forward? In other areas, women in India are still neglected, right?
You're right. Women's aspirations have changed. Women want fewer children. They need access to reproductive and family planning services. And, the entire burden of not just producing children, but also, which is a privilege, by the way, that women have, but for family planning is put on women. 75% of sterilizations is what women experience, and men 0.3%. And people like you, when you have this big asset associated with you, one of the most heard people in India, Mr. Bachchan, we really need to get men take greater responsibility, and you have the convening role of potential of persuading millions of men to take greater responsibility, because not only will population stabilize, but women desire to have fewer children will be met, and women, it leads to higher economic growth.
Okay, I have a question for Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi. You are an inspiration, you're a powerful role model, you fight for the rights of the trans community. Do you feel that there is more acceptance now, or that there is still a lot more that needs to be done?
There is acceptance, but then the acceptance is at times I find it very tokenistic, because now inclusion is a very big word internationally and even nationally. India is a role model for the transgender rights movement. Today our parliament has passed Transgender Act, we have transgender policies, there are many things which have rolled out. The whole issue of inclusion is a very big question mark, because at times I feel that we all have to not be tokenistic, but we have to be realistic. Now the entire whole system of the social sector, yesterday I was speaking to UNAIDS Solidarity Fund people, and there I said we have to make entrepreneurs from the community, and where we shouldn't see we have giving services to the community, forget it, make them socio-economically stable from where they earn themselves with dignity.
That's the perfect moment for me to swing to Aradhana Lal. Aradhana, you have a very inclusive hiring policy at Lemon Tree Hotels. Tell us and everybody a little bit about it.
We started this 14 years ago. It was more of a pilot at that time. The goal was to understand that if we hired a person with disability, how will our organization be able to train that person, give them an equal chance, and have them participate in the product and the service of the hotel company. We realized pretty quickly that you have to first prepare the organization. So while it makes a lot of business sense to bring in people with different needs and different abilities, the organization must be ready first. So we did a lot of work with sensitization and briefing and training of all our 8,000 employees. One more thing happens. When a guest comes who is a person with special needs, he likes to stay at Lemon Tree Hotels. And the reason is, he says that the staff are very well sensitized. They understand what it means to engage with a person with disability. And as a guest, if I'm on a wheelchair, or if I'm visually impaired, or if I'm deaf, they treat me with a lot of dignity and respect.
I have a question for Deepa. What are the challenges in your daily life, though, outside of the glamour of the sports arena, etc., in your daily life?
Let me just say that for me, or for anybody in disability, the first word itself is the biggest challenge. You just have to pick up access and call it accessibility, and that itself is the challenge. So access to health, access to nutrition, access to opportunities will come only when we have first discussed accessibility. And accessibility, not just a physical accessibility where I talk about tactile tiles, I talk about ramps, I talk about public transportation, or I talk about the pathways or the footpaths or universal accessibility. But I will also talk about accessibility in the minds of the people. When you see one physically challenged person playing in a sporting arena along with 10 people with no disability, automatically those 10 families get sensitized towards the abilities. They start looking at a person with a different point of view.
We've been saying from the beginning of this show, it's one planet, it's one human family, we're all in this together. So we're going to take a break and we'll be back. Welcome back. We've been talking about how it's absolutely crucial that for us to progress as a nation, we leave no one behind. We have a guest with us, very special, Sanjeev Bhargava, founder director of Seher Festivals. Mr. Bhargava, when we talk about leaving no one behind and we talk about how to be inclusive, we talked about people with different abilities, we talked about the trans community, we've spoken about a whole lot of things. But in this pandemic, one of the groups that were hardest hits were a lot of our artisans, our craftspeople, our weavers, our musicians.
I would request, the way out is to think out of the box and to really think that CSR is the way to go. There are companies, there are corporates who are not affected so badly by the pandemic. It's important for them to come out and help, the artisans, the village, the tribal musicians and others. So really the CSR is the key. How you can actually use the CSR for promotion and preservation and propagation of these kind of people.
We have with us Dr. Randeep Guleria, Director AIMS, and we have Atul Chaturvedi, Secretary of the Department of Animal Husbandry. Dr. Guleria, while we're grappling with this novel coronavirus and it's dominating all of our headlines right now, India is home to several zoonotics, from swine flu to the Japanese encephalitis to rabies, toxoplasmosis, others, and the Nipah now. These are all pretty serious diseases. What's our status in terms of future pandemics and just, how much monitoring is done of these various zoonotics that exist within the country?
When viruses jump species, they also mutate and then develop the ability to spread rapidly in that species, as has happened with COVID-19. It jumped species but then mutated and now has become a human virus. And now we see that there are cases where the virus has jumped from humans to other animals. We've had reports of COVID-19 in tigers, in cats, and therefore it's important to remember that viruses will keep jumping species. And we as responsible citizens who have really taken over the planet, if I may put it that way, should also really respect nature and the planet and work towards building a better future for our future generations.
This question is Atul Chaturvedi ji. Atul ji, you've talked and written extensively about One Health. So how does it apply to India? And can you tell us what does One Health actually mean?
One Health is basically a concept which has been there for last several decades, but is now catching up more and more, especially when people are becoming more and more conscious about their health. So One Health is primarily an issue which relates to animal health, human health, and environmental health and plant health. All these healths put together, and to attain an optimal health for people, domestic animal, wildlife, plants, and environment is what is the concept of the One Health.
Joining us now are Poorna Malawat, who scaled Mount Everest at the age of 13.
Poorna, when you climbed Mount Everest, because you wanted to prove that girls can do anything, not only that, you climbed it when you were just 13 years old. That's remarkable.
I got this opportunity through Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar sir, and actually I was studying in residential government schools. So Praveen sir came as a secretary to all the residential schools, government schools, and he wanted to show that government schools are, provide quality education and quality food and everything. So he wanted to prove that. So he wanted to prove to the parents and to the people who are not sending their kids to school. So my physical director ma'am selected me for this adventure sports, and I started in 2013 and I was 13. So after had this opportunity, I never expected that I'll become like a youngest girl after climbing Mount Everest. I never expected that I will become that youngest girl in the world. So I never know that I'll become that. But I just when I got this opportunity, and the biggest turning point came around me, and after my basic training was completed successfully, and we climbed 4,880 meters peak Mount Renouf. That was my very first peak that I summited. After that, I was decided कि I want to prove that girls can do anything.
I want to ask Prakash Amte ji. Prakash Amte ji, pranam. एक बार फिर आपसे मुलाकात हो रही है. You know, we were talking earlier about how the fight against smallpox, polio, count amongst one of the India's most good and healthy successes. 75 years of health and hygiene में हमने ये उपलब्धि प्राप्त की. But this conversation will not be complete without talking about Baba Amte ji and his fight against leprosy.
So he started Maharogya Seva Samiti in 1949. And why he started? Because during that period, a leprosy patient in a house was a taboo. So everybody in the house, in the village, in the society, they used to drive them out. So ये सब लोग मंदिर के सामने या चर्चेस के सामने भीख मांगते थे. तो बाबा ने जब ये स्टार्ट किया, तो धीरे धीरे उसकी जैसी पब्लिसिटी हो गई, तो लोग पूरे भारत से आनंदवन चंद्रपुर जिले में वो वहाँ आने लगे. दी मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग बाबा का ये था कि इन लोगों में जो भीख मांगते थे उनमें से कॉन्फिडेंस कैसा जगाए, और इसलिए उनका पॉलिसी था वर्क विद द पीपल. उनको ले जाके वो खुद काम शुरू करते थे और बाद में वो लेप्रोसी पेशेंट उनको हेल्प करते. दो हैंडीकैप थे, फिर भी थोड़ा सा तो काम कर सकते थे. क्लाइंग था, इंजरीज थी, लेकिन उससे जो उनको जो निर्मिति का आनंद मिल रहा था, कॉन्फिडेंस आ गया था, और वो धीरे धीरे नंबर बढ़ते गया. लोग आने के शुरू में तो बाबा को तो सबने बाइकआउट किया था, इंक्लूडिंग हिज होल फैमिली. और 10 साल के बाद में हम छोटे थे, मैं और मेरा बड़ा भाई विकास, हम लोग बड़ा आइसोलेशन में थे, लेकिन 10 साल के बाद काफी लोग आने लगे. और देन आनंदवन हैज ऑलमोस्ट बिकम ए पिकनिक स्पॉट, लेप्रोसी कॉलोनी. तो अवेयरनेस बेसिकली जो टैबू था वो कम हो गया. रिसर्च के बाद में अच्छी दवाई आने लगी.
So Dr. Reji, you know, we need more doctors working in the tribal areas, working in community health to improve the health outcomes of rural and tribal populations. What can we do to create more tribal health initiatives and more Sitlingi valleys?
I don't think we should be concentrating on infrastructure, because I think many governments have enough money to provide infrastructure, for example, buildings or equipment. The main problem is getting more and more doctors or nurses to come and work in rural areas. Therefore, I think the main thing is to try and inspire more and more youth to get away from the mainstream.
Dr. Subodh, this is a question for you. As Dr. Reddy just mentioned, there's a shortage of doctors, and it's the same, sadly, with nurses and other medical staff. So, how can we bring in more doctors and health workers into the rural healthcare system?
Sevagram Medical College was started in the Gandhi Centenary year 1969, and the main objective of the medical college was to create doctors for rural areas. Earlier, our founder director, Dr. Sushila Nair, had also started a rural placement scheme. So all doctors, after they complete their MBBS course, will be posted with an NGO working in rural area, and for 2 years before they are eligible for a post-graduation program. But with PG NEET entrance, this scheme has stopped. We like to initiate this scheme as well.
I want to ask a few questions to Ravi. Ravi, you started this campaign, Reach Each Child campaign, which talks about malnutrition. And your campaign, it operates in the interiors of Maharashtra. So, what kind of responses have you been getting?
It's a very interesting question, sir. Like, this campaign is now 2 years old, and we have seen 0 deaths.
Oh.
0 deaths, which is reported by the National Rural Health Mission. This has only been possible by, working with the tribal girls which were there. We invested heavily with the tribals. We worked with them my colleagues and myself, we also give a lot of time going there. And always one question comes to our mind, like, do our children will go to the same facility?
Yeah.
So that's the big triggering point, sir.
Very interesting.
So we upgraded the facilities. We took the local artisans. We made it more beautiful. We tried to give them medical facilities which were not available. We also saw, like in the Melghat region of Maharashtra, still this telephone towers and mobile network towers are not there. So if someone has to call for the emergency, what is to be done? So what we did, sir, there's small motorbikes. We have given the motorbike ambulances in the primary health centers, so that with that motorbike ambulances, like in the difficult terrain, children can actually be transported, sir.
They've got toys to play, the joy on their faces. We spoke to some mothers and they were like, actually our kids are becoming fine. Earlier they weren't allowed to come. The family said, if the mother goes for 10 days or stays for 14 days, who will take care of the house? But when they see the child's health is improving, the transition was really fantastic. Infrastructure, yeah.
Great.
So I will invite you to visit the field whenever, sir, you can.
Yeah, I would love to do that as soon as, mobility is allowed in this pandemic. It's a huge problem.
Still, there is no doctor in my village, but we can go by, there is a transportation facility and we can go to the doctor.
So at least that change is coming. A lot more needs to be done, like you said. Thank you so much, Purna, for coming and sharing your experience with us. Rahul, it's been a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for coming.
जब रहेगा तभी तो भारत संपन्न बनेगा।